Word. Now that we're recording, I will introduce Dr. Taher, author of Open Heart, a wonderful book about his journey from being a family physician to open heart surgery to recovery and all of his journeys along the way. Very excited to have him with us today. And with that, Dr. Taher, I'll let you go ahead and take over.
Okay, do you want to wait for a little while till others come in, or you want me to start?
We could wait a few minutes if we want to chit chat a few.
Sure. I mean, that's up to you, whatever. I don't mind. I've done 2 people to have done 55. So
okay, let's give them until about 5 after. How does that sound? That gives us a couple more minutes and we can.
Sure.
We can start then. So we've got, I'm in Northern California. Dr. Taher, where are you at right now?
I'm in Atlanta, Georgia. I am a practicing physician over here doing telemedicine in Atlanta, Georgia. But my clinics and urgent cares are in north of Alabama.
Okay, okay.
When I'm not, I'm doing now telemedicine. My home is in Atlanta.
And you're originally from India, right?
Originally, I'm from India, but left it a long, long time back. And I spent about 11 years with the American Navy in Bahrain, in the Middle East. So I was there for 11 years. And then we started the first medical school in Bahrain. I write in my book. That was the first medical school in the Middle East, the lower Gulf. But with my other colleagues, we had some American doctors too. I still am in touch with them. It's great. They're from Florida and Colorado. Okay, Lynn, how are you?
Welcome, Lynn.
Hi, guys.
Hi, Lynn. How are you?
I'm good. It's nice to meet you.
Okay, great.
And Lynn, will you tell us where you're at?
I'm in Pennsylvania.
Pennsylvania, and then we've got Hermes in Nashville, Tennessee, Christy in Idaho. Shelby is traveling. I don't know where she's at these days.
I'm also in Pennsylvania. I'm from Texas, but I'm in Pennsylvania until Sunday.
Spread the message. Spread the message. It's very important. But anyway, so it is, I think I should start, right?
Sounds good to me. It's about 5 after.
Okay, I'm going to now share screen. Okay, and we'll go on the slideshow. That looks good. Everybody okay? Let me have a look at all the... Okay, perfect. Okay, here we go. Okay, so today we are going to talk about coronary artery disease, a heart disease which is very close to my heart because of what I underwent, and the whole food plant-based diet that is the only diet that can not only treat and prevent, but reverse heart disease. As I will be talking, I want you guys to take down notes, to ask me questions later on, and I'll be very happy to stay as long as you want. Okay? So now, coronary artery disease. How many of you are from the medical this thing? Are you all RNs or students or? Okay, okay, so great. So we all know that the leading cause of coronary heart disease, the #1 killer of Americans for the last 103 years in a row, even with the COVID, It kills more people than all the cancers combined. And what is it due to? It is due to our sad American diet. It is the diet that is killing us. Now, if diet was a number one killer, don't you think that it would nutrition would be the first thing taught in medical schools? No. I did not have a single lecture when I passed out, in the 70s. No lecture on nutrition. My son is a physician who is 52 years old. He had 25 hours in a 4-year period for nutrition. And what did Maimonides say, the Jewish philosopher? No disease that can be treated with diet should be treated by any other means. So now if you have diet that important, and this is more so for chronic diseases, we are talking about man-made diseases, heart disease, your diabetes, your high cholesterol, your high blood pressure, your obesity. These are what we are made. And all you require is diet. So let me tell you my story. I'm 73 years old. I'm going to be 74 in March. And my genetics are both sides, good and bad. From my paternal side, my grandfather lived up to be 103. My father died at 81. This side, my mother and sister died at 69. My brother died at 52. And my other brother who's alive has got pulmonary fibrosis, hypertension too, pulmonary hypertension. So, but let me tell you, genetics plays only 15 to 20% of your health outcome. And if you have a proper diet, then this can be mitigated and negated too, as it has happened in my case. Okay, but what was my lifestyle? Most of my adult life, and truth, most of my adult life, I loved unhealthy, rich food, wines, cigars, and whatnot. I was a seafood eater, an SEE. I ate everything at sight. You name it, and I've eaten it. Now, every day it would be either the Chinese takeaway or the Mexican takeaway or the oily Indian takeaway. Because we have a cultural connection with oil, we South Asians. We love our oil. Unless our curries are not topped up with a layer of oil like the Waldi slick, we are not happy. So then I was a couch potato, a sedentary slob. I did not know the meaning of exercise. The only exercise I did was my eye muscles looking at joggers run in the park. And on top of it, I had a type A personality. So what happens with the combination of all this? It was no surprise when heart disease came knocking at my door at a young age of 56. And they asked me, you will have to have angioplasty and stents. My plaques were so thick that they had to use a machine to break open the plaques, a diamond rotor-rooter, and they had to break open the plaques. And I had a cardiac arrest. And they had to shock me to get me back. Now you would have thought, wait a minute, this guy has gone through all this, eating junk food, this. by now, with this kind of a thing, he must have changed his life. I'm sorry. I did not change a bit. I went deeper in the well. I started eating, gorging more. I got depressed. I was having lonely bouts of sitting on the chair, looking up at the ceiling. I would cry endlessly. I would get angry. I would throw things. I would be sweating in the night, and I would be like as if I had just come out of the heavy downpour. And all these, it was like tormenting thoughts were running riots in my mind. I was in a bad, bad place. Now, all these dark energies that you have, they eventually bring your physical health down. So what happens? I get bronchitis and sinus infections visiting me every year. I started getting chronic constipation, which I always had, which led to fissures and hemorrhoids. And then I had the famous diverticulitis, which is very common because we don't have any fiber in our diet. And so both the ones were with perforation. The second perforation, yes, the surgeon was waiting with a knife to just cut me open and take off that colon. Then I had an acute retention of urine because of my enlarged prostate that I was put in for 6 days. They put large catheters in it. It was more excruciating painful than it was with my heart surgery. So again, it was no surprise that my stents failed. I had restenosis. And now when my stents failed, they told me, you need open heart bypass surgery. As I was being led into the ICU and being prepared for my open heart surgery, I don't know what happened. I was so tired of life. I looked at the nurses and I promised them that I would do a half marathon in a year's time if all went well with my post-operative recovery. That casual comment, of course, some of them smiled, some of them humored me, some of them thought that this was an anesthesia infusion talking. But that casual comment was a defining moment in my life. So my recovery was remarkable. I went on a treadmill on the 3rd day. And trust me, I took no pain medication because to me, that pain of that open heart surgery was happier than being in the emotional trauma of the last 5 years. Can you get that? There is pain, but I'm not taking any pain medication. I'm saying this is much better because I've made up my mind. I got to change. So I could take everything, the pain and the whole lot. I was there. I was ready. So comes, I sign up for the Nashville marathon, half marathon. The night before my wife and I go to Nashville, I couldn't sleep. The dichotomy of fear and excitement got me, And then at 2 a.m., I went off to sleep and I had a superb dream. I thought I was in the Olympics and they were putting a gold medal on me and I was singing the Star Spangled Banner, but obviously in a totally wrong tune. Eventually, I went off to sleep. Now, I did the half marathon. It was a torture, but I loved it. I went on and on. Previously, my little town does not have any hills. Now I'm seeing hills and I say, oh my God. But then you just abandon yourself and say, wait a minute. Let me just do it for the fun of it. Once that happened, it was a clear path. And I did it in 3.5 grueling hours. But I felt like I was on top of Mount Everest. So that was my starting of my comeback, my journey. So in the next slide, I'm going to make now a very important statement, and bear with me with this statement, Had I known then what I know and understand today, I may not have gone for stents or surgery. I would have looked at other options. Why am I telling you this? That you will come across a lot of people in your lives. Please tell them to ask the doctors for other options. I'm not saying, and I'll explain to you why I'm saying this. There's a science behind it. It's not just empty talk. So I started doing my research. I met Dr. Dean Ornish, Michael Greger, T. Campbell and Neil Bernard and Kim Williams have written a testimonials in my book because they read my book. And Nandita Shah, I met all these people and Deepak Chopra and whoever, And I started understanding that it is your coronary artery disease is two things. One is a heart attack, one is angina. So let's go to the next slide. Understanding the mechanics of coronary artery blockages. So a lot of people will not tell you this, but think about it. Of course, your nurses would know that you're in a medical field, but I'm just explaining to you in a simple manner. This is your coronary artery. Okay, this is your lumen, where the blood flows. This is your inner lining, the endothelium. This endothelium produces a very powerful substance, nitric oxide. What does this nitric oxide do? It keeps your artery dilated, the blood running smoothly, and protects your walls. But this nitric oxide is extremely important, which is found in vegetables and fruits and whatnot. Healthy diet, plant-based, will give you nitric oxide. Now, what happens when you eat a standard American diet, aptly called the SAD diet, the dairy, eggs, meat, carbonated sugar drinks, or a junk food vegetarian vegan diet? A lot of people come and tell me, I'm a vegan. I'm not good enough. Oil, processed foods, saturated fats, and sugar. So what happens when you eat all this junk? There is your coronary. Sorry, I am a clean coronary with a clean endothelium. So what happens over here? You've damaged your endothelium, the one which produces nitric oxide. Once you've damaged the endothelium, what happens? The cholesterol, fibrin, calcium starts forming a plaque because your endothelium is damaged. So you start forming a plaque. And it takes years, decades to form this plaque. And when it starts narrowing the coronary artery to an extent that now you get chest pain on exertion, we doctors then say you have angina. You're with me so far, right? Okay. So this takes decades to form, the plaque formation. And the new blood vessels form collaterals around the heart. See, these are your collaterals. I can't see the other one, but these are the collaterals which will go. Here is your blockage. and we form new blood vessels that will join over here distally so that your heart is never devoid of blood. Let me give you an analogy, okay? You have a raging stream and you want to block it. So you put bricks and stones and try to stop it. Either side of the bank, you do it and you come in the center. But water has its way of going. It'll go under the stones, above the pebbles, and move forward. Similarly, the blood in your coronary artery, when it is blocked, over a period of times will form new blood vessels, which will take the blood forward to where it is required. So there is very little chance of getting a heart attack when you are in a situation like this. Because heart attacks happen, I'll explain to you, but this is angina. This is what I had. So what did I have? My plaques were large. They were thick, containing calcium, scar tissue, sturdier, unlikely to break and cause heart attacks. Two of my arteries were 98 to 99% blocked. But I did not get a heart attack. So why did I go in for stents? Why did I go in for bypass surgery? Now, if you get a heart attack with both my partners gone, what happens? This is friable soft clots that rupture. They form an emboli and go and stick into some part of the heart, certain part of the heart. And that is when you get a heart attack, when 50% of die with the first heart attacks. Now here, your whole outlook should be different. The moment this happens, then you have a person who's getting a heart attack. Like a typical Bollywood, Hollywood type of a heart attack, chest pain, going down, diaphoresis, sweating, dizziness. What should you do? Your finger should go to 911. They will take you immediately to the emergency room. The EKG will be done, blood work will be done. They find out you have a heart attack. They take you to the cath lab, boom, boom, boom. They take off the clots and put in the stents. And if that does not work, they'll do a bypass surgery. So there is a place for bypass surgery and stents. And even in some cases when medicines and lifestyle does not work, you may need that, even in an angina case. But I should have been given that option. I did not. So eventually, what are we doing? When cardiothoracic surgeons and cardiologists put stents and do bypass surgeries, that basically, unless and until you change your diet, after that, you're doing Band-Aid treatment. Because you're cleaning up your coronary at that part. What about your blood vessels in your brain? What about your blood vessels in the kidney? They have endothelium. They produce nitric oxide. So the whole idea is that I had other options, but at that time I did not. Now, if somebody has already gone into bypass surgery and things like this, it's okay, but still follow the diet. Because if you do that, you are going to get a reversal. For people with a heart problem, I am not saying anybody who is, I respect anybody, whatever they want to do, but you should take, understand why you're doing it. So the next thing is reversing coronary disease. I was a miracle. Is this a miracle or what? I was just in a conference with Dr. Esselstein's patient, a 61-year-old. I'm going to, this thing is a bit too, I can't see my figure. Oh, wait a minute. I'm so bad at all this. Okay, anyway, no. So I was, and here they're showing us a video of the 61-year-old who has multiple health problems, and he could not even walk from one end of the room to the other end. They showed us this video, and he was sort of bad chest pain, and he was not a candidate for surgery or stents. So they decided to put him on a whole food, plant-based, no oil diet. Look what his coronaries looked like before. Moth-eaten, rat tail, narrowed down. And in 3 years' time, I can't see the figure on mine, but I hope you all can see that coronary artery is completely dilated. No stents, no surgery. Just by the whole food, plant-based, no oil diet. At this juncture, I'm going to tell you, folks, that if you must be thinking now that this Dr. Taher is going to be a guy who is whole food, plant-based, no oil diet. No. I'm whole food, plant-based, very little oil diet. And why? I can't come up to that stage. I want to. I'm trying. But the health benefits that I've got is amazing. It's astounding. I mean, I would never go back to meat, eggs, and dairy. Never, ever. And this is a man who used to eat lobsters and steaks falling off the plate and whatnot. So, in effect, what I was trying to say is the large international studies from New York University and Stanford, they said invasive procedures are no better than diet, medication, and lifestyle changes, even in severe but stable heart disease. And Dr. John Cook, the famous cardiologist in Stanford, goes up to say 50% of the stents, angioplasties, and bypass surgeries done in the USA are unnecessary and should be only done in emergencies like a heart attack or when medication, lifestyle changes, and diet fail. So, folks, what are we really doing in the medical field? We have become experts of making people live long, but not healthier. What are we doing? Look at this picture. This is an overflowing sink. This is where all the garbage is, your blood pressure, your diabetes, your cholesterol. And what are we doing? We are treating the consequence of that disease. Oh, you got diabetes? Okay, here is a pill for you. Okay, you got cholesterol? Take this. And so what we are doing is we are mopping the floor, we keep mopping the floor, and it keeps on overflowing. When all you have to do is turn the faucet off. And that faucet can be only turned off if we as medical doctors start treating the cause of the disease, the primordial prevention of the disease, rather than consequence of chronic diseases. We are living longer, but not healthier. These are some of the heart-healthy foods that I've incorporated in my diet: complex carbs. Maybe you have brown rice or quinoa or amaranth, vegetables of every color, the rainbow color and the cruciferous. The idea is that I even play with my patients sometimes, tell them from A to Z, name all the vegetables. And I'm telling you, you have practically every alphabet has a name of a vegetable, practically. Grains, barley, brown rice, millet, loads of protein. Beans and lentils and fruits, all those phytonutrients and antioxidants you're getting. So what should one do in a short way? Now, there's a long story, but since we are at this place where we are getting everything done, first of all, when you are eating anything which is packaged, look at the label. If you cannot pronounce something, don't eat it. Number two, avoid junk vegetarian food. If vegetarian food was so good, as some people believe in America, that, oh my God, in India, they're all vegetarians, oh, they must be so healthy, we would not have been the heart disease capital of the world. So, eating junk vegetarian or vegan food is worse than putting a piece of meat in your mouth. Reduce your bad cholesterol by avoiding or cutting back on meats and saturated fats, and avoid trans fats. Of course, they ban trans fats over here, but in so many countries, if you go abroad and if you travel, trans fats are not banned. The trans fats are vegetable oils chemically altered to stay solid at room temperature. Exercise. Let me tell you a little story. When I used to be an omnivore, meaning I used to eat meat as well as vegetarian, more of a carnivore, more meat than vegetables. And when I started doing my runs, I ran the Boston Marathon, I ran the Chicago Marathon, then I went to triathlon, I ran that. And then I decided to do I decided to do a 100-mile bike ride, a 100-kilometer bike ride first. When I was on a non-veg diet, leaning towards a healthy diet, but still on meat. I finished 100 kilometers and was in bed for 7 days, resting. Then came the 100-mile bike ride, which was about 2 years after my 100-kilometer bike. By that time, I was a plant-based. I was doing this in Mobile, in Alabama. It was a horrendous day. The temperature was like some 31, and it was crosswinds, and it was a bad weather. But anyway, it took us 8.5 hours to do this 100-mile bike ride. I come back, and then we decided to go the next day, my trainer and me. But I said, hey, this thing, Stacy, let's go right now. I'm feeling good. Are you feeling good? She said, I'm feeling great. So I said, okay, let's go. On the way back to my small town, Gadsden, I get a call from my clinic that we don't have a doctor tomorrow and we need somebody. Without batting an eyelid, I said, I'll come around. So here you are. I'm doing an 8.5 hours of bike ride. Then I'm going 6 hours to my small town. I'm sleeping and getting up early in the morning to go for a 10-hour shift. Like nothing has happened. This is the power of plants. So it gave me that my performance time, my preparation time in any sports, my recovery time after an injury, all decreased. So if it was, I tell people, do a 30 minutes of a moderate exercise 5 times a week under good conditions. You can't just run around when you're mad or you're fighting with your spouse or you're this thing, and because it's going to be terrible. I had patients who do that. And they come back and say, exercise did not help me, but obviously for a different reason. So 30 minutes of moderate exercise 5 times a week under proper conditions, your maximum heart rate should be 70%. Your heart rate should reach 70% of your maximum heart rate. So if sorry, let me get it. 1 minute. Your maximum heart rate is 220 minus your age. So if I am 74 and I'm 220 minus 74, 140, 150, whatever it is, 70% of that would be about 105, 106 for me. You have to reach 70% of your maximum heart rate. If you're not reaching a 70% of your maximum heart rate, you are benefiting, but you're not cardio benefiting. So once again, maximum heart rate is 220 minus your age, and you have to do 70% of your maximum heart rate, at least. So what does exercise do? It increases your endorphins. It increases your good cholesterol. You know what my good cholesterol was when I got my heart attack? My good cholesterol was 29. I didn't get a heart attack, sorry, angina. 29. You know how much it is today? 61. Because I have been exercising. And I've been doing it regularly. Because now if I don't do for 2 or 3 days, I feel there's something wrong. In the long run, it decreases your heart rate so that your heart does not have to do so much work. So oxygen can be pulled out from the blood without the heart doing so much work. So in the long run, athletes will have a heart rate which is lower than the usual. They will always have 61, 65, whatever, you know. And it definitely decreases your blood pressure. So we come to a situation is that we have talked about exercise, the pillars of health, exercise, and we have talked about diet. These are the 2 most important things. But there are other things like meditation, religion, spirituality, yoga, sky breathing. These are all how you manage stress, because everybody has stress in their life. It is not stress that is harming you, it is how you're handling stress. Some people are natural in handling stress, I'm not. So I need crutches, and my crutches are meditation and sky breathing, what have you. If you turn into a vegetarian, and if you turn into a vegan or a plant-based diet, there are 2 essential things. You don't have to take any other thing. Your magnesium and this, you get enough of it in your plant-based diet. Remember, you can eat as much of sugar too in your plant-based diet, even if you're diabetic. You just think about it. You will not eat a corn and keep on eating it. But corn syrup, you will have lots and lots of it and you'll love it. The reason I'm saying is that natural fruits have got fiber. So if you're taking dates, natural sweets, dates or a mango, they've got fiber. So even if the sugar is there, the sugar is going according to our body's rhythm. So it is going on properly. So in my opinion, you can eat as many fruits as you want. We are not talking about those fruits. You're talking about the sugar, the sugary syrups and the sodas and all that. Of course, do you I don't, but a lot of people use a spoonful of sugar in the coffee and tea. No problems, but don't overdo it with sugar. You want sugar, take it in your normal. But two things that you have to take. One is whether you are a carnivore, omnivore, a flexitarian, lacto-over, this thing, whatever. You have to take a vitamin D, period. I have not seen one single case in my 47 years of practice of anybody getting vitamin D toxicity. There was a small study done in the United States that there were 50 people who had COVID severe enough to be, it was a small study, but it was double blind. So they were taken around in a hospital and all of them were admitted. And 25 of them were given very, very high doses of vitamin D and 25 were not given. The people who were not given vitamin D, 7 of them landed on a ventilator. The people who were given vitamin D, only 1 landed on a ventilator. So please, I don't care, unless you are in Florida and you are getting sun for 15 to 20 minutes in a day, you better start taking your vitamin D. And you'll ask me how much? 2,000 units, 2,500, 3,000, get it checked. The normal level is 30 to 100. So if you are in that range, again, giving an example, all examples are personal examples by patients or science-backed. My personal example, first few months of COVID, I didn't go out. I did on my treadmill over here, I did on my elliptical at home, and I just did not see the sun. First 3 months, 2 to 3 months, got my vitamin D checked. My vitamin D was 6. Normal is 30 to 100. So please, 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 I'm telling you, take your vitamin D, number 1. Number 2, if you are a vegetarian or a vegan or plant-based, take your vitamin B12. Vegetables in days of old used to have vitamin B12 because the soil bacteria used to make it. Because of our pesticide and insecticides, that soil bacteria is killed. We don't make any vitamin B12 in our soils. The upside to it is that we don't even get dysentery and diarrhea. The downside is we are vitamin B12 deficient. So please take your vitamin B12. Again, 2,500 units. 2,500 units should be fine, you know. Okay, I can go on for hours and hours, but I'm going to end it up over here and keep the floor for questions. Anything that you have. If I can't answer, I'll look it up and come back to you.
Shelby.
I have a question.
Is
my internet coming through okay, Sheila?
It looks great.
Perfect. Okay. So I would classify me as new to whole foods, plant-based living in general. And I have noticed that my periods are off since going whole foods, plant-based. So I'm curious if you know what I can be doing differently or making sure that I get enough of, because that's never been an issue for me before.
Are you getting metromenoragia? Are you getting too much of blood, this thing, or you're just getting frequent periods?
No, they're no longer regular. I was like every 29 days and now it's like 30 to 45, which is
how long have you been on a plant base?
September.
And were you ever on contraceptive pills or anything else before? Never.
No.
September. Give it time, Shelby. You will get everything.
Okay.
As your body is just getting used to the new system, you will. I've seen this happen to a few patients of mine. They come around there and then they say, look, can you give us something? I said, no. I don't want to let nature take its course and you'll be okay.
Okay. Any indication on what triggers that, or just like the stress of adjusting?
I think your body is adjusting, your mind is adjusting, you're trying to get into a new thing. See, a lot of people, when they eat plant-based food also, another thing is they tell me that we don't have energy. And that has happened a lot of times where they call me and they say, we don't have any energy because they are not eating enough. One thing, be rest assured, a plant-based food will never make you increase your weight.
Yeah.
So there is no way that you can do, but eat a little more.
Okay.
So used to eating that the non-fiber diet, and you get satiety. But with this, this may cause more of that, but eat more. And as far as this is concerned, I don't know the exact mechanism of if there is something with a plant-based, but I will go to Dr. Michael, this thing, and I will look into his, you know him, right? I will look into his and I'll get back to you.
Okay. I appreciate it. Thank you.
Not at all.
It may also be like the stress, or have you been working out more? Have you been exercising more? Nothing like that?
No.
Okay.
No. Yeah. A little background for me. I had an open heart surgery at the beginning of this year for an aneurysm, and recovering from that has been insanely difficult for my body. So working out it triggers migraines for me. So activity is unfortunately low on my end compared to normal.
But
good question.
Get back onto the activity very slow, very slow.
Yeah.
I mean, but you have to get back onto it, because of all the other things. I'm not talking about the weight issue or anything like that. I'm talking about the health benefits of exercise. Remember, I was not at all obese when I got my heart problem, but I could not eat. I'd never done 1 kilometer in my life.
Yeah, I'm in a lot of physical therapy, so I'm trying.
You're doing good. I'm sure you'll do
Thanks.
well. I'm sure you'll do well. Go ahead.
I have a question about the vitamin D supplements. Is there a vitamin D supplement you recommend? I've read, the differences between the D2 and the D3 supplements. And there are some providers who prefer to have their patients take D3 because it's more of the natural, vitamin D that our bodies produce, more of that endogenous D3 or endogenous vitamin D, I should say. Do you think that there's a distinction to be made there, or do you just say vitamin D2 is okay as well?
I don't approve D2.
Okay.
But a lot of doctors do that, cholecalciferol, but in my opinion, they also do it because it can be given for a week, 1 tablet, the D2. But ergocalciferol, the D3, is the one which you should take. And number one, it is better absorbed. It is better health benefits. And it is now available in plant-based. It was not available before, so people used to take the D2.
And is there a certain brand you recommend?
Not really. I mean, just if it is an organic form of a vitamin which is there. I take a D3. I find that when I run, because I had a hiatus of long distance running for 5 years. But then because this people in San Antonio asked me to lead them in this race, I trained. And when I trained, I had to take more vitamin D. I was getting fatigued more when I used to do long distance. But when I took the vitamin D, everything was, in my opinion, see, even if it is cold, Atlanta is not very cold like you guys where you are, but of course, not Sheila. Sheila is in California. So
it's 30 degrees here.
But what I do is that even if I don't go out and it's too cold, if there is sun coming out, Because remember, if you are sitting in near your window, in the window pane, you're not getting your ultraviolet rays. You have to be in a direct contact with sun. So I open my door and I do the ventilation. Also, I window over there, because in the COVID situation, the ventilation helps. And I let the sun sit around there. I sit in my shorts. It's a bit cold, but I let the sun come over me. I'm nice and warm. 15, 20 minutes. That day, I take less vitamin D. But if you are regular on sun, you don't need vitamin D. But vitamin D helps you with your calcium absorption, never getting osteoporosis. And when I was actually doing my, not telemedicine, but otherwise, 60% of my nursing home patients that time, I'm not talking COVID time, 60% were vitamin D deficient.
Well, thank you for that response. I really appreciate it.
Not at all.
I'd like to add a little bit about the vitamin D, if I could. There's, from what I've read, especially with vitamin D3, there's different sources. There's animal-based vitamin D3, and then there's also plant-based. I believe it comes from algae. You might know better. If you're familiar with Dr. Goldhammer, he's also big in the whole food plant-based world, and also has his own like fasting clinic where you can go and do long-term fasting. He uses Pure Encapsulations is the brand, and they sell a vegan-based vitamin D3 there.
Wait a minute. Let me write it down.
Writing that down. Thank you.
Would you like me to put it in the chat?
Yeah, just put it in the chat, please. Okay. I would also like that.
Yeah, because I've been to his clinic, actually. It's about an hour away from me, and all of his supplements are from this brand, and I do like that they have the vegan option.
Okay. You're not yet put it on. Have you, Sheila?
It's there now. I just put it in the chat just now.
Okay. Pure
Encapsulations. And Pure Encapsulations does sell a vitamin D3 that is not vegan based, just so you're aware. So you have to make sure that it does say vegan. I got it off of Amazon.
See, I also get a lot of questions about the protein when you are an athlete, then about what about your protein? Remember, there is really no difference between animal protein and plant protein in terms of amino acids. The essential amino acids are there in both, the 9 to 10 essential amino acids that are there. But what happens is the quantity of amino acids in the plant-based protein are less than the one in the animal-based protein. And the animal-based protein has so much of that amino acids that causes problems with the kidney. And then, of course, your meats don't have any fiber and then high cholesterol and whatnot. But basically, you require about 56 grams of protein for men and about 46 grams for women. And if you just eat one steak, it is 82 grams. So you don't require protein. I've never seen a protein deficient person in America. So stop taking your powders and this and that. Just take the plant-based food. Of course, you can take natural protein, plant-based, that is powders, that is okay. I mean, I've seen people, oh my God, I've just done 10 kilometers. I need to have some I need to have some animal protein. And it's ridiculous. So.
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
Oh, I was going to ask, maybe this is switching gears a little bit, but are there certain labs that you recommend that, adults should do on a yearly basis besides, CBC or CMP, like troponin levels, for example? I guess to give you a little bit of a background why I'm asking this, I had some like chest discomfort, particularly when I was laying down, and this kind of coincided when I actually did end up getting the COVID vaccine because it was a requirement for school and whatnot. So I had discomfort for quite a few months. and it pretty much coincided with me getting the vaccine. So I was wondering, I had an EKG done, nothing turned up on the EKG. I was thinking maybe it was like some sort of, I don't know, pericarditis or some sort of inflammation there. But I haven't had a lab drawn. I was thinking recently I probably should to check my troponin levels. Is there any other labs or tests
I don't think troponin levels would make a difference right now. If you've got a strong family history of a heart problems, heart disease in your family, either maternal or paternal side, then I think what you should do is your calcium score.
Calcium score? Okay.
Coronary CT, your CT scan, and do your calcium score. That should be, that is what I tell everybody, that even if you're 45, 50, 35, but if you've got a very strong family history, say your uncles have died, your father has died, somebody has got it, then do at least a calcium score to stay where you are. Then you can do a calcium CT scan angiogram. And then if that is positive, then you go in for actually a procedure of angiogramming.
Okay, thank you.
But calcium score is a good way to start with people who have it a family history.
Okay, thank you for your help.
No, not at all. Anybody else? Lynn, Tiffany, Christy, Shelby. Shelby has already had. Yeah. But any more questions? Anything? What about dairy?
There's Lynn.
Hi, doctor.
Hi, how are you?
Good, how are you?
Doing very well, doing very well. I hope you guys have enjoyed the talk. Feel free to ask me.
So you recently mentioned that some people feel tired on whole food plant-based diet because they weren't eating enough. How do we know how much is enough?
That's the best part of plant-based diet. You just eat as much as you want till you get really. But if you feel like you can eat more without worrying about weight, but that's the first thing that people worry. So you're not going to harm yourself. But, take a little more of your fibers, your fruits, your vegetables, your beans, your lentils, and try mushrooms, things like that. Just make, just this afternoon, I made a nice mushroom and a spinach burger. Excellent. A guy who could not touch veggies. But I don't know exactly what to say, but this person who called me, he actually called me back and said, "You're right. I was not eating enough because I was wondering that am I overeating and I'm going to get obese again," because he was very, very obese. He was something like 285 pounds. So then he lost a lot of weight on plant-based, and he was wondering that I said, "No, you go on." Now he's steady. But good question. Good question.
Okay, thank you.
Anybody else? You know that for an old man like me, this is my bedtime. It's 9 o'clock.
What do you usually eat for breakfast? I'm just curious. Like, we eat a lot of eggs, so I'm trying to think, like, what can I do to...
Eggs is worse. The TMOA, that's in another category that I can go on, of the inflammation with that transamines and all that, but we're not going into that depth. If you love eggs, and if you can make scrambled eggs, go and buy hard tofu. Hard tofu, and then exactly as you make your scrambled eggs, you make it. You can put whatever you want in it, salt, pepper, cilantro, red pepper, chipotle, whatever you want. Onions, garlic. This may sound like I'm not telling you the truth, but 2 years back on New Year's Eve, I had some people who were at my house on New Year's Eve, 2 other couples. And I said, I will make the morning breakfast. And I said, I'll make you scrambled eggs. And I made this tofu. And they all started saying, wow. They didn't know it was tofu. They said, wow, this is superb. Then I said, wait a minute, this is not eggs. This is tofu. And then immediately they all stopped eating. Oh, it's not that good. It's here.
What else do you eat for breakfast? Like, what do you recommend then?
I first of all look at the refrigerator and look at whatever fruits are there, whatever. And then I use the bullet, this thing that we have. Yeah, it is the bullet. Yeah, the big one. And then I put all the fruits in there with a pomegranate juice and this. And I make that into a, what do you call it, a smoothie. But I don't put any, if I put yogurt, it has to be a non-dairy yogurt. But whatever, like my base is banana and I don't like apples. So I use banana and pears. That's my base. And then it's blueberries or blackberries or strawberries or gooseberries or whatever I have. I just dump it in, and my wife and I both have a glass each. That helps me till about 10:30 or so. And then I go in, have whatever is for the last night. And I have a big bowl of that, you know, whether it is bean soup or an Italian bean soup, or it is pasta, whole wheat pasta, or rice pasta, whatever. Oh, I eat a lot. Trust me. And then evening, of course, whatever is made, but I like to try new things, you know. But I'm not good at cooking.
Well, thank you so much. I do like smoothies, so I think I'm gonna incorporate your suggestion.
It is filling, it is good, and you get a lot of antioxidants and phytonutrients, and it keeps you. Touch wood, I used to get 3 or 4 sinus infections and bronchitis every single year before this when I was. Touch wood. Last 10 years. And all this that I've done, Mount Kilimanjaro, Mount Kailash, triathlon, imagine, I didn't even know in India, you don't get to ride bike when you're young. Somebody will kill you on the roadside. So you had to learn the bike, then I had to learn the clip-ons. I had to learn how to fall without getting hurt. And then I had to learn swimming, and the cold water story. Oh my God, yesterday I was telling people my cold water story because of like linear. Sheila has read it in the book, you know. I went and got myself a wetsuit. Forgot to put glide. So in my
your story is just very inspirational. It's really
read the book, man.
I'm gonna get it. I'm gonna read it.
You see, I'll tell you, 1 second. The important thing into this, what I call my book is, are you all there? Oh no.
Yes, I'm here.
Oh, okay. Here I am. Okay. Is that it'll teach you to learn from my mistakes that I made. And then it can also, the 7th chapter in my book is all about how diet is more important than exercise. And you can also remember that anybody who has got an illness or something down and you are in an abyss, this book will help you not only to come to ground level, but will take you to heights which you never imagined. It can save somebody's life, or it can at least improve the quality of somebody's life. It's a fast read. And I am not making a penny of this book because it's all going to charity. It's going to PETA and St. Jude's. So I am not really, are you there?
We're here.
I'm here.
Okay. I can't see any of you now. I'm lost over here. Okay. I don't seem to be getting you all. Anyway, I wish you all to read that. It is on Amazon. and pass the word around. More than that. And you don't have to really buy the book. You can even download it on Kindle. It's $1.99, But read it. And my main thing is, apart from reading it, please spread this message. It is so important. It is a #1 killer. The other day I was joking with my wife and she turned around and said, "You are so engrossed with your book that you don't care about it." I said, no. The day heart disease becomes #2, I will be all yours. So that's my main legacy now that I am thinking of. Anyway, Sheila, I can't really see you. I don't know what I've done with this computer of mine. I would like
to see you. Maybe your Zoom got moved over to another screen or something. I'm not sure, but
you all can see me?
We can see you just fine. I've got full control over here too. So if you're comfortable with not seeing us and just speaking, that's okay with me.
Okay, no problems.
What would you say was one of your more difficult challenges transitioning to whole food plant-based?
Fish. I was a pescatarian for the longest period of time. I just could not turn around to give up fish, but then I finally did it.
What was that shift?
Pardon me?
What was that shift that helped you finally make that final change?
Everything that you give up. I first became a flexitarian. I cut back on meat, eggs, and dairy. Then I started giving up meats. Then I said, okay, I'm lactose intolerant, and so let me give up dairy. Do you all know about this dairy story about the casomorphins? Has anybody heard about casomorphins? You see, when my patients come to me and I tell them to give up dairy, they come back to me and says, "Doc, we give up dairy." I said, "What about your cheese?" He said, no, I'm still having cheese. The cheese is one thing that is most difficult to give up because milk dairy contains casein, a protein that only a calf can digest. We cannot digest it properly. And even if we do, remember 1 ounce, 10 ounces of milk will make 1 ounce of cheese. This casein then turns into casomorphine. And casomorphine becomes very addictive. That is why people who eat cheese cannot give up cheese. So it is so important. But then I gave up that, and then each time you give up something and you introduce new food, unless you're going to like it, you're not going to go. When I gave up and totally became a vegan and a plant-based, people stopped inviting me. So, but now they realize, now I'm changing them. So I'm back into the party circle, but otherwise I was not. They said, what are we going to feed that guy? But the point I'm making is that if you give up something, add something. If you're giving up dairy, then if you love yogurt, say for example, and you want to give up that yogurt, there are so many yogurts now, cashew milk yogurt, almond milk yogurt, soy yogurt, and they all are great. So when you give up, for example, I love burgers. So when I made today a spinach and mushroom because it has got an earthy quality of meat. It was excellent. But unless and until you enjoy it, you're not going to give it up. Other food that you put in this thing, you have to enjoy that food to give up the previous food. And then when you find that your energy, I mean, can you imagine that they were going to cut me open and take my colon? And thank God I said no. Now it is not there. I don't have diverticulitis. I mean, I have diverticulosis, but it's never flared up. So imagine amount of things that you can get from this whole food plant-based diet, and you're feeling great, and you want to do things, and you want to run marathons and do other things, live outside your comfort zone. That's the most important thing. And sometimes it's an adversity can be your best friend or your worst enemy. But remember, only when you are in adversity, your hidden talents come out, which would have not come out under normal circumstances. I think that's what happened to me. When I got a kick on my hiney and I said, wait a minute, either I'm going to go on a rocking chair, live vicariously through my children and grandchild, and wait for the inevitable death, or should I do something about it? I did something about it. Now, tomorrow, I'm not interested in longevity. I may die tomorrow, but I'm living a life of purpose and enjoying every bit of it. I'm enjoying talking to you all. So it is not only beneficial to you, it is beneficial to me because I'm reinforcing the ideas in me. You may get to hear, I don't know for sure, I was telling Sheila that there may be this thing of they're interested in me doing a TED talk, TEDx. So keep your fingers, I'm keeping my fingers crossed. If it happens, well and good. Are you guys still there?
We're still here. I just saw Lynn take her mic off, so I thought maybe she had something to say. I was giving her a second.
Okay.
Yeah, I have another question. I was wondering where you get your recipes from. Just like today, you said you had a mushroom and spinach burger. So where do you get recipes?
Go on to Sharan, SHARAN. If you go on that, they have a site, and then you can look up the recipes. They have a whole lot of recipes, And if you go to any of this, Neil Bernard or T. Collins, lifestyle, this thing, all these people have so many of these. And remember one thing, you have more restaurants. I have more restaurants in Atlanta right now than 20 years back. At that time, the only thing was boiled or steamed vegetables. Now you get everything. I mean, somebody told me the other day, and I tried a jackfruit burger. Excellent. So,
thank you.
But Sharan is a good one. I had a lot of recipes from Sharan. Yeah, for example, just now, what my wife and I made was we took a little bit of lentils, and we took the shredded tofu, and we mixed it, and we put a little bit of what you call that? God, I can't get the name now. As a binder. So we put that, and then we made into like the kebabs. And I did air frying. Excellent. Of course, I put all the ingredients of, the pepper and salt and this and that and garlic and whatever. And it was excellent. But it is hard sometimes. I'm not saying I don't use oil. Yeah, I go to people's places, I use oil. They use oil. In Christmas, I'm having my family come in. All of them are not this thing. They're non-veg too. So we will have some non-veg items, but I won't. Trouble is, I did it for health. My wife and daughter did it for cruelty to animals. So now I'm beginning to understand that I can sleep better, I can write better, I can listen to my patients better. So there are a lot of advantages.
I know I find it myself, like when I transitioned over to whole food plant-based, and as I started coaching others in whole food plant-based, there's a lot of mental resistances to adopting a whole food plant-based lifestyle. And that's where a lot of the coaching comes in and helping people move through a lot of those resistances, a lot of those old thought patterns as to what kind of foods are okay, and being more in tune with your body and how do certain things make you feel. And also the belief in yourself, your own limiting beliefs about what you can and can't do. And
Correct.
those are some things that can be challenging, because whole food plant-based, being pure whole food plant-based, is probably one of the more difficult transitions.
Correct.
As far as other diets that are out there are.
Correct. But strictly speaking, if you are a young person and if you got a heart disease and you want to change your life, this is the right time to do it,
Absolutely.
And if you don't have something, then become at least a flexitarian, because at least give up processed foods, I mean, you are eating poison from the fast food joints around you. So, and why do we in America, when everybody, unless you're living in an apartment, if you are living in a home, no matter how small your home, you always have a backyard. Why don't we grow things? I did it in the first time, the COVID, the 220. Last time, I don't know, this global warming or whatever, I didn't get any much vegetables. But the previous year, I did a lot of gardening, and I enjoyed it. It was very therapeutic. So I guess, any more questions? I love talking to you all. I hope you did too. And please look after yourselves. And thank you, Sheila. I really appreciate you giving me this opportunity.
Absolutely. I'd like to put out a couple of contact info out there for anybody interested. If you are interested in transitioning or looking for extra help into becoming more whole food plant-based, I can be found at aimsalchemy.com, which I just put into the chat. And if you loved what you saw here and you want to put a little bit of a contribution that helps me put my time and energy into providing more of these kind of things for you, my PayPal is at Sheila Ames. And that's also in the chat as well. And Dr. Taher, is there any way that anybody can reach out to you? Or are you offering anything that anybody might need to reach out for you for as well?
Not really, but I'll tell you one thing. If people want to know more about me, they can go on my website. It's akiltaher.com. akiltaher.com.
Okay, and I just added that into the chat as well.
And if you have a really question that you cannot get your PMD or other plant-based doctors to answer, and you absolutely are in a bind, please put my number down, but text me first, because I don't answer numbers that I don't know. So text me and write to me, say I've been on your this show, and I have this question, and I'll get back to you. I promise you that.
Okay, so you'd like me to put your cell phone number into the chat as well?
Oh, yes.
Okay.
Oh, yes.
I will do that.
And I have no problems, but like I said, please text me before we have a conversation.
Okay. And I also plugged in your link to Amazon for your book as well into the chat, so anybody can get access to that as well.
Yeah, and spread the word around. I think Sheila is doing a wonderful job, and if she can turn people into it, then why not help her out, because she's doing a fabulous job. As far as I'm concerned, she asked me, and I said I'm available. I'll do it. So you guys got to pass that news around. Okay.
Thank you everyone so much for coming.
And
Thank you so much.
Dr.
This was wonderful. I really enjoyed hearing you and everything you had to say. And thank you again.
You're so welcome. You're so welcome. I love talking to you. Okay.
Thank you. I appreciate your time.
Bye-bye now, everybody.
All right. Bye-bye.
Bye-bye.